Well, good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show. Week 3, my name is Brent Johnson along with Offensive Coordinator Seth O'Brien and Defensive Line Coach Eason. So how are y'all doing?
Good.
Thank y'all for joining us today, or again in this week's edition. Coming off a really big victory, and we'll get to that in just a moment. I do want to thank one specific group of people, and that's the people at Douglas Chapel. I like to name these churches and other entities in our community that provide the game meal for our boys on Fridays before they suit it up and get ready to go. That's just a huge burden that's taken off of our staff and really even our boosters as these churches come in and provide this meal, and also a word of encouragement typically for these young men that will be good for them on the field and on the playing field and on the field of life. So that's always important. All right, well, we'll get right to it. We traveled over to McRae, Georgia. It's been a while since I've been in that stadium. In fact, I couldn't even remember it till I got there, and then somebody sent me a picture and was like, oh yeah, we were actually here broadcasting about 12 or so years ago. But yeah, it's interesting stadium. I think they did maybe some updates on the home side, but they got, I think, the original visitors, well, not really bleachers, blocks, concrete. That's okay. It is what it is. They did have a visitors press box, which I was very proud of. It kept us out of the rain. Yep. As we were looking at the forecast, and I think most everybody, hours up to the game, it was off and on. It looked really bad about 2 or 3 o'clock, like all this red was going to accumulate. And then on the way, right before we left the school, about 4:45, I was like, hey, there's a little bit of light green, and we might start on time and be good to go. But soon after we showed up and we set up and y'all were warming up, the bottom fell out and it started raining and lightning, thundering, and I was telling Coach before we started that I didn't think we were going to get it in. I've been around it a lot. I was thinking, my goodness, we're going to sit here and wait. And I was making some phone calls and trying to talk to Coach Williams, and I talked to texting Coach Parker, and then finally I just called Mr. Powell and I said, hey, what's going on here? He said, well, we're going to look at trying to make a decision. I think about 9 o'clock. Because there's a deadline. You can't wait too late. And I thought 9 was probably it, right? So 9 o'clock comes around and I'm like, we're not getting this game in. We pack all our stuff, and we had a lot of stuff. We took everything. This game I took 4 kids with me, along with Keck, and we packed everything up. We get to the car. It's like 9:10, and I called Charlie one more time. I said, hey man, because I'm getting nervous. Oh gosh, what if? So he says, well, I think we're going to have another meeting. We might try to get this thing in and start by 10 o'clock. I'm like, oh my goodness. So we go to McDonald's, the second time we have eaten tonight, because we ate before the game. And we're in the drive-thru, and I didn't tell Charlie that's what we were doing, but he calls me. At this point it's like 9:20, 9:25. He said, hey, where you at? I'm like, well, we're in the McDonald's drive-thru, so that was kind of funny. He said, well, we're pretty sure we're going to kick at 10. So we get our food and we shoot back and get set back up. And we're ready to rock and roll. 10:02, yep, we tee it up, and it's the first thing. It's the latest I can remember kicking off, because I knew right then my kids were having to call their parents, because I was having to, the 4 kids, making sure they could stay that late, because I knew we wouldn't get back before 1:30, 2 o'clock, and it all worked out. I had a great crew this year, a couple juniors, a couple seniors, and their parents thankful for that, and so really thankful because we were able to broadcast. A lot of folks went home, and I think we had well over 200 people watch that game live from home. So that's what we do it for, whether it's 1 or 200. So it worked out from our standpoint, and ultimately it worked out from a football standpoint. But coaches, when we talk about a delay like that, especially when you actually get on the field and warm up, and then you have to go back in, whether it's an hour, much less 2 hours. So what's the vibe? What's the process with the boys when it's like that?
Well, first off, I thought our warm up on the pregame was maybe the best we've had all year. So I'm going in thinking like the sky didn't look too bad. It didn't really look dark. So maybe we'll get it in. We go inside. All of a sudden, like Chicken Little sky fell. The sky just fell out. It just rain, lightning everywhere. and it's kind of hard from offense because you don't know when you're going to start. So 7:30 you're not kicking, 7:45 you're still waiting, 8 o'clock you're still waiting. So you kind of want to go in, hey guys, remember we're doing this, but you don't want to do it if you're going to wait till 10 o'clock, and you don't ever know when you're going to start. So we didn't really have a big discussion until probably like 9:30. Hey, we might start at 10, whatever. Then we start kind of rallying the troops and talking. But we didn't. I will say the kids did a whole lot better job than what I thought of kind of just staying in the locker room, staying locked in, and not really running around trying to do this, acting crazy on the phones. I mean, it was, for the most part, they were the kids just hanging out, ready, waiting to play. Like none of them really wanted to go home. They were all like, "Let's play." So I was excited about that.
Man, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, from that standpoint, that's what you're worried about is them getting in my mind. Coach Keck said, "Are you a negative Nancy?" I can't believe we're packing up. But again, I just had no idea we were going to get. I didn't think we were going to get that game in. And when you're talking about teenagers, and like you said, and I'm sure you let them have their phones as a slight. That's not. Sometimes in that case, it's not a distraction. It's kind of a deterrent. To give them something to focus on at that moment in time. But it's got to be tough, even from a coaching standpoint. What was going through your mind?
Just making sure the kids were, still locked in, keeping them with high hopes, keeping them, encouraged. We always talk about family in our locker room, so all the guys huddled up around us, all around the coaches, talking to us about stuff going on and all that type of stuff. It was just kind of, it was
Kind of surreal, that's what it sounds like,
it was
because
feeling.
when the guys came out, they were pretty fired up.
Yeah.
And it's tough because there was some parents left in the stands, naturally, but there was no band. And there's parents that come with the band, so that's extra fans. There's no cheerleaders. There's parents that come with cheerleaders, so they sent them all home because of the weather and having to be late, and I get all that. So it was relatively quiet on our side. And they had their cheerleaders, I believe. Their band went home as well. But it was quiet. It was kind of eerie, especially after the game got started because you can hear everything. Sometimes that's not that's good and bad but you can hear everything in the stands and you can hear everything on the sidelines. But I think you were right. I think our boys were locked in, and ultimately it showed. But I remember, when the game started. I don't know if you remember. But you basically said, well, we're going to run the ball. We're going to come in tight, and we got to run the ball in these conditions. And that naturally in those wet conditions, because I don't know how much, 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain in a couple hours, so a soggy field, and that's typically when we throw the ball 50 or 60% of the time, that's going to condense. And we attempted to run the ball, but we struggled early.
Yep. Struggled a little bit. Practiced it all week. It felt okay about it, but it's when you go on a wet field already, it's a little slippery, and you've already been sitting for 2.5, 3 hours, and then you come in, you don't think you're going to run it first, now you have to. We tried to throw it a little bit on the second drive. I think we threw a screen, he just kind of slipped off his hand. Thank God we figured out that we could throw it eventually. I think third or fourth drive, we finally asked him, like, can you or can you not? Like, we need to kind of know. And he was like, I think I can. Give me another chance, we can. So we finally figured it out, started throwing a little more, and that helped the run game. I thought, because if you're them and they can't pass it, let's just stop the run. Why would you not? So us being able to throw it helped the run game a little bit. I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second, but we were down 4 running backs at one point, had 3 guys that really hadn't played a whole lot all year. They had to come in and play. They ended up getting hurt, so we're down 4 running backs. We had to turn to Travis Cawthorn and Carter Chancey that maybe practice running back once a week, like not a whole lot.
Right.
But I told them both after the game, I know Travis is senior and Carter's junior, but to me, in my head, he's kind of one of those like senior leaders. He's not a senior, but he's one of those guys that you think of as older. And like that's the exact way to lead your team is to step in cold. Doesn't matter what the job is. We need a touchdown, let's go get it. We need a 40-yard run, Travis Cawthorn, let's go get it. Like that's the exact way to lead your team.
Yeah. Well, and I had said, and again, I'm Monday morning quarterback on a Friday night. We struggled early, kind of like I said, running the back or running the ball. When the conditions are wet, the offense has a slight advantage because you know where you're going. The defender doesn't. So if you run a decent route and the time is right, you can make some plays, and ultimately that's what happened. Which, again, like you said, if you can run it, you can throw it. If you can throw it, you typically will be able to run it a little bit to keep the defense off balance. And again, we progressively, and our defense was there all night long. All night long. We give up a player or two here and there, but they were fortunate to score. You know, in my opinion, you know, ultimately, it was basically because we allowed it.
Yeah.
Just a couple mistakes, but the defense was really solid all night, and you know our defensive line tackled well. Again, it's just a combination of things. So, what was your overall feeling? You know, as far as the defense on the defense side of the ball?
Defense did an awesome job. They played hard. They played physical. I like how we rally around the ball. Not just one person on top of the ball. We knew we had a quarterback that can run. That guy's an awesome athlete.
Yeah, best player on their teams for sure.
Yes, man. He was an awesome athlete. We tried to make sure that we had him contained. We had guys coming off the edge, guys on my interior defensive lineman blowing up holes and just making plays, man. They all really, really wanted it. I know right there at that, you know, the last little goal line stand, we had about 4 people on the quarterback making that play.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the best moments of my coaching career so far, my short coaching career.
Well, that wasn't a little stand. That was a big stand, and we'll get to that in a second. You know, I want to talk a little bit, taking nothing away from Telfair. Man, we come from Clinch County the week before. I kept thinking. I told my dad, you know, Saturday and Sunday, I said we may not face another defensive line as good as them, you know, or maybe equal to, because them guys got after it. But they had some good looking kids at Telfair. Golly, from their front 3 or 4, and their 2 linebackers. I mean, they were studs, and they played well. Number 9, I think, remember specifically. He was in the backfield at times. He was timing it. A couple times he timed it just right on the blitz, and sometimes there ain't much you can do on the O-line to try to nut him off. And it seemed like he blitzed to the side we ran, you know, so it just worked out. But that's just instinctive play by that young man. But our defense, boy, they just stepped up, and they've been, you know, pretty consistent, pretty solid all season. But it was really, really fun to watch. Go into halftime. What we're down, was it 14-3? We get that a really nice field goal. It'd been good from 45. You know, we know we got the leg when it comes to our kicker, Isaiah. 14-3. You know, we come out and I told Kick, I said, well, here's it's going to determine the game. What happens right here? Because we had to kick to them. Got a great stop, and then we went down. We went to business, went to work, and. But I got one question I got to ask. We score our first touchdown, and it's 14-9, and I'm thinking, well, here we go for 2. We're going to go for 2 here. You know, this is where you go for 2, and well, we did. We ended up kicking the extra point. We got the extra point, so we're down 4 versus the 5 if we didn't get it, that sort of thing. What was the mindset there? What was the process?
I think if you look back on tape, you immediately see all of us, at least on offense, and Coach Dad having Mike, what are we going to do? We're talking about it a little bit. And I think one of us said go for 2, one of us like go for 1. We were kind of split. It was taking 5-6 seconds, and we're like, we're talking about this much. Let's just kick it. You know, we're got a great kicker, like you said.
Sure.
Been blocking pretty well on kick up front. I feel like we kind of had the momentum. You know, I remember coming out. You talk about defense playing really well after halftime. First thing we came out, Coach Wilder came to me and Coach Griffith said, "We're about to get 3 and out. We're going to go score." So that him having the momentum and all the confidence in his guys gave me confidence in his guys that. Let us do our job. Let's just kick, play really, really good defense, get the ball back, score again. That's what we ended up having.
Yeah, and again, it's moot because we got what we wanted. But that was just one little Monday morning quarterback type question that I had. But super, excited for how we showed up that's that third quarter. In the fourth quarter, we scored again. Our quarterback, he took a hit. And this is 2 weeks in a row where he kind of got roughed up. I think it was maybe his left wrist or something. He comes out of that series, comes right back in the next, and he's slinging and he's running the football. And this is Hennessy. This shows a lot of toughness. Once again, if you watch the game or the replay of the game, you'll hear Coach Keck talk about dudes. The dudes has got to be dudes. And that's what our receiver, number 7, was. He was a dude. Friday night, and so he made some plays, made some catches, made some throws, made some catches, and during that latter part of the third quarter, early part of the fourth, so we take the lead, 17-14 at that point, and we kick back off. I remember, and a couple penalties and a little bit of this and that, and some emotion from both sides. Anyway, all part of it. They move down the field, sets up the drama. you know, when I told my dad Saturday morning, because he had went over with some guys and they had left, and he didn't watch it that night, and I said they were first and goal from, I think, inside the 1 yard line,
It was close.
and we ended up taking over on the 4 yard line. So that tells you what our defense did. All 3 plays. Coach, do you think we wore them down a little bit?
I think so.
Both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it's a little humid at night. A lot of their guys play both ways. Kind of, I mean, every single A team's going to be that way, especially in the lower division too. All their running backs play defense. All the linemen play D-line. That's how it is. And you can see it seemed like every play we ever other played, the last drive for us, one of the last drives, and somebody was cramping.
Yeah.
And I know it's humid. I know it's bad conditions, but it seemed to not have it all fully.
That's right. And that's a testament to our team.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse that's why we was able to hold them, but that's part of the game. That's part of the game plan to wear the other team down.
Yeah.
But man, that was like you just said, might be the pinnacle of your young coaching career, watching your defense step up like they did to hold that team, because if they scored there, then suddenly the momentum is back on their side. And who knows? And we're down by 4 again, potentially, if they get the extra point. And now we got to go the length of the field. But man, what a stand! I mean, that was just you had, number one, to be there, but even you can still feel it if you go back, rewatch it. It's on the YouTube channel for the Red Raider football. The name skips my mind right this second, but I've rewatched it several times. So we made the big stand, and you mentioned his name earlier. I know what kind of kid this kid is that walking up and down the hall. I've had him in the classroom. I know his uncle very well, Andy. He was a sponsor while he was Andy Cawthorn Auto Sales for many years. He was a sponsor for our broadcast, so I had a lot of dealings with Andy. Andy was a 3-sport athlete when he was in school here at Bacon County High School. So this is his nephew, Travis. He's fast. We knew that. He runs the 100 meter, 200 meter in track. I think he's had some injury. He's played a little bit these last couple of years, but the last time I remember him getting a handoff was in East Lawrence like 3 years ago. I think he was a freshman. And his carry, he ripped off about 20-25 yards in that game. Well, he ripped off about 45, and that sealed the deal. The defensive stand, was a huge deal, but conditions we were in, on the snap, you could do this or that or the other. But man, he got us out of that hole.
Yeah, he did. First off, man, I know you talked about it. Travis is maybe one of the best kids I've ever been around. I had a coach when I was in high school that always kept like a note of kids that he thought, like, if I get out of coaching here and I ever start a business, here's a kid I want to work for me. Here's the kid that'll do this. But Travis is like, if I had a note, he's one of those kids that I don't know I guess I need to ask him. I don't know what he wants to do one day when he graduates. But if I ever own a business, Travis Cawthorn's the guy I'm hiring. If I'm ever a head coach and he wants to be a coach, he's the kid I'm hiring. He does everything right. I was in the press box, so I didn't get to ask him. Coach Thad went to him when we needed a running back. Travis, I need you to go. Can you go? And he said, Coach, whatever you need. You just tell me what to do. Like guys like that are just whatever it takes for their team, they'll do. Like that's the kind of guy we need around. Made a really good play. It was actually supposed to be inside zone to the right.
Right.
And if you look at it, it's kind of blocked. He has really good vision. Looks back and it's wide open, so he cuts it back, and I think it hits 43 yards, whatever it was, and just rides out. It was really cool.
Yeah, that was fun to see. Senior, like I said, he's been plagued a little bit with injuries the last couple of years to get him on the field a lot. But yeah, he is just a great young man, and there's many others on this team. That was his time to shine, and that's why we're talking about him today. And hopefully he's going to he'll contribute even more. It's going to give him some confidence. You gain confidence in his ability as well.
Earn more reps.
Earn more reps for running back. I know he plays a little linebacker. Or is it
safety?
Safety? Okay. But yeah, that was just awesome experience there for him. Again, just a really big victory. We actually won on Saturday. The game kicked off at 10:02. I think it was 12:36, maybe when it got over with, if I remember correctly. So it was on a Saturday. That don't happen too often, where you start a game on one day and finish it on the other. Any final thoughts as far as how over on the defense, any particular ones that stood out to you that I know this. I know one of our more emotional players and a guy that just gets after it, Jalen Marion. He's not a real big kid, but he plays. I said it on air. I think he plays like 25 pounds bigger than he is. I know he suffered a mild injury there on his knee. I know he wasn't able to play the second half. But obviously some guys stepped up.
Yeah, right. First off, a couple of my defensive linemen, we had Cam Merritt and Darren Moore win Defensive Player of the Week this week for our team. Cam, he plays a versatile role. Sometimes he steps out there on the wide receiver. Sometimes he's a traditional end, and sometimes he's like a stand-up linebacker. And that's very, 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 very pivotal for us, having guys to be able to play in multiple roles. I have Darren, he plays in sometimes, and then I can bump him on the inside sometimes. And he still makes those big plays. And then we have Big Mason stuffing up gaps.
That's right.
And then we had Maury had a pretty good game coming off the edge.
Yeah.
Playing in like a linebacker type style from the safety
He
position.
made a lot of tackles.
He
Several
did,
tackles.
and so all those guys stepped up, and then those are the guys you'll see on the goal line stand making that last play of the game. All three of those guys made that play.
That's right.
And it was just a beautiful thing, just watching the defense come together. It's nothing more beautiful than seeing all red hats right there on the quarterback on the ball when it's time to step up and make a play.
That's right. And we mentioned their quarterback earlier. He was a dude.
Yeah.
And he's going to help them win some more games. In their league, the rest of their schedule. I think they kind of struggled to throw the ball. They wasn't comfortable. I say that they weren't comfortable throwing the ball. And once like you said, we had a bunch of hats on him and on their running back. So it made them literally get kind of one-dimensional, or that forced them to be. But yeah, it was just fun. It was fun to watch. Anytime you win, it's always fun. But the way we did it, it wasn't a blowout. It was we were down. We come back. We made adjustments. We had the kids step in, and do things. And that's what brings teams together.
Yep. And I think I told you when I walked in, it almost after the game, seeing kind of like the flip switch in the kid's head, or like the light bulb going off, like, oh man, we can win close games like this. Like we can be down 14-3 in the third and come back and win. Like this is possible. Just the confidence growing is big.
Well, again, we want to congratulate our coaches on that victory, but put that behind us. They started studying some film on Sunday, I'm assuming, on Truetlen County. Another smaller division school. They're 2-0, if I read that right on Max Prep. So they bound to have a little confidence coming in, regardless of who they were playing. And so we're back at home this Friday night. I said I like the away games because I get to be on the horn and really engage in the game versus at home when I got a lot of other things going on. But we like playing at Red Kingdom. We'll call it at Red Raider Stadium. So what can we expect from this Truetlen team coming in Friday?
Defensively, they'll run like 3-3 stack. DBs are really well coached. Linebackers fly around. They read really well. D-line, they have one kid. I forget his number. I think it's number 0. I believe is to me is their best. Plays in really. It's hard to tell on tape. I would say he's probably 6'1", 6'2", built pretty well, pretty fast off the edge, good with his hands. Like, pretty good player. Offensively, I believe wing T.
Yeah, you can expect a wing T type style of play. They got some heavy guys. They got a heavy guy running a fullback for him who likes to run that trap. And then their wings, they're very fast guys, and then their quarterback he can move around a little bit too. So you got some athletes and some power coming up this week.
I got you. Well, we got a little bit of experience with that with Appleton County because they had some big guys up front, and they had a big guy running the ball and a quick guy. That kind of plays. You look at that type of film and remember, exactly. I know that when you defending that type of offense, it's about your gap and where you're supposed you can't get caught looking. You got to be disciplined. And I guess that's you're having to coach that every day this week.
Yeah, everything has to fit perfectly, from the linebackers or from the safeties all the way up to the defensive line. Everybody has to be in their gap, fill alleys, and overall just be athletes, because you never know. They turn around in that jet, and then they might want to turn around and do an in around on us as well. So we all got to be where we need to be and be caps out.
Well, that type of offense too, they're gonna get one.
Yeah.
They're gonna pop something
Yeah.
because it's the trickery, it's the
That's how it's built.
and that's how it's built, right? So so you have to and you need I think tell the boys that obviously you say hey they might get theirs, but we're gonna get ours too, more than not. So that little trap play. So, right up the middle. I mean, that seems like that's the one that kind of gets you.
It hits so fast, you just almost never see it.
That's right. That's right. And when you don't, till it gets to the second level, and you're done. And that's because there's guys up front can't see it. But well, we're excited again to watch some more football under the Friday night lights as Truetlen County comes to town. Like I said, this weekend. It's a holiday weekend, a travel weekend for some people, but maybe you'll wait and leave Saturday morning and come out and support this football program Friday night again. Kickoff's at 7:30. Our broadcast will start about 7:15. If you can't make it, you can watch it at home live on the NFHS network. It's more to it than just our football. There's a huge band. We got almost 130 something strong. I think they'll be doing their full show this Friday night. If not, definitely 2 songs. You got the cheerleaders. You got the student section. They got themes. Every night, every Friday night, and that's always fun to watch. And again, it's just a really big atmosphere, huge atmosphere. It's a good crowd. Every home game we've had during the scrimmages, even with Clinch County, I can't imagine there'd be any less this Friday night. So we want you to come out and enjoy that atmosphere as we can continue to support this Red Raider team during the 2025 season. As we work our way toward region play. That's ultimately what these games are for. It's almost all of them scrimmages until we get to region play. Now I do understand, we're still under that points system. So wins and losses do matter to an extent, on the outside of our region play. But this is a time to prepare our boys for a tough region slate. Possibly it's the toughest in the state, and in multiple divisions. I think it's one of the toughest in the state. So we'll talk more about that leading into region play in a few weeks. But again, we want to thank you for joining us this week, Coach O'Brien, Coach Easton, for being here. And I will say this, and Coach Thad, he's obviously relatively humble because I would have probably personally asked him to come on, knowing this was his first victory as a head coach. It's kind of a big deal. But I want to congratulate him and the whole staff for this victory last week. And like I said, or like they described, it's a time for family coming together and believing. And what's it take? And we talked about it last week. What does it take to get to that culture of winning? Does it take winning, or do you have to have a mentality prior to that? I think it's a combination.
Yep.
I think it starts with the mentality. Winning always helps, kind of get over that hump. So, but we look forward to Friday night, opportunity to get another victory as we continue to move forward. So again, thank you for joining us on this edition of the Red Raider Coaches Show.